In a crowded high school hallway, bullies grab a black girl's collar, thinking they can break her in front of everyone. What she does next will leave you stunned, inspired, and cheering for her unstoppable courage. This gripping script, packed with shocking twists and raw emotion, will keep you hooked until the very end. Subscribe now to dive into this powerful story of resilience and join our community of readers who love epic tales that challenge the odds and celebrate triumph. The fluorescent lights of Lincoln High's hallway flickered, casting a sterile glow over the chaos of students rushing between classes. Aisha Thompson, a 16-year-old junior, navigated the crowded corridor with her chemistry textbook pressed against her chest, her denim jacket slightly frayed at the cuffs but worn with pride. Her tightly coiled hair bounced with each step, and her deep mahogany skin stood out in a sea of faces, some of whom whispered as she passed. Aisha was used to the stares. She'd been the new girl at this Chicago suburban school since her family moved here 2 years ago, and she'd learned to carry herself with a quiet confidence that her grandmother, a civil rights activist who'd marched in Selma, had instilled in her. "Never let them dim your light," Grandma Rose would say, her voice a steady anchor in Aisha's mind. Today, though, that light was about to be tested. Aisha was halfway to her locker when she felt a sharp tug at her collar, yanking her backward. Her book slipped from her arms, hitting the floor with a dull thud that echoed in the suddenly quiet hallway. Laughter erupted, sharp and cruel, as Aisha spun around to face her tormentors. Courtney Daniels, the undisputed queen bee of Lincoln, stood there, her manicured fingers still gripping Aisha's jacket. Courtney's blonde hair was perfectly styled, her designer outfit a stark contrast to Aisha's thrift store finds. Flanking her were Jake, a hulking football player with a smirk that matched his arrogance, and Mia, a petite girl whose loyalty to Courtney was matched only by her vicious tongue. "What's the rush, Aisha?" Courtney sneered, her voice dripping with mockery. "Trying to get to the library to read about, what, Black history again?" The crowd around them snickered, phones already out, capturing every second of Aisha's humiliation. Aisha's heart pounded, her pulse a drumbeat in her ears. She'd endured Courtney's taunts before, snide comments about her hair, her clothes, her attitude. But this was different. This was physical, public, and deeply personal. The hallway seemed to shrink, the faces of her classmates blurring into a sea of curiosity and cruelty. Aisha's eyes locked onto Courtney's, and something inside her snapped, not in fear but in defiance. She didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice low but steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Let go of my collar, Courtney, now!" The crowd gasped, the air thick with anticipation. Courtney's smirk faltered, but she tightened her grip, leaning in. "Or what? You gonna cry about it?" What happened next would become legend at Lincoln High. Aisha didn't cry. She didn't scream. Instead, she reached up, grabbed Courtney's wrist, and twisted it with a precision honed from years of self-defense classes her father had insisted she take after a string of neighborhood incidents. Courtney yelped, stumbling back, her minions too stunned to react. Aisha bent down, picked up her books and faced the crowd, her voice ringing out clear and unshaken. "Anyone else want to try me today?" The hallway was deathly quiet, phones still recording, but now capturing something unexpected, Aisha's unyielding strength. The moment was a spark, igniting a chain of events that would unravel secrets, forge unlikely alliances, and expose the dark underbelly of Lincoln High's social hierarchy. By lunchtime, the video of Aisha's defiance had spread like wildfire across social media, racking up thousands of views on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. Hashtags like #Aisha Fights Back and Lincoln High Drama trended locally, with some calling her a hero and others labeling her a troublemaker. Aisha sat alone in the cafeteria, her tray of lukewarm pizza untouched, scrolling through the comments. on her phone. "Queen," one user wrote. "She's just looking for attention," another sneered. Aisha's stomach churned, but she refused to let the negativity sink in. She'd faced worse. Growing up in a neighborhood where gunshots sometimes punctuated the night, she'd learned to keep her head down and her dreams big. Her goal was to become a civil rights lawyer, to fight for people like her grandmother, who'd faced fire hoses and police dogs for the right to be seen as equal. This hallway incident, it was just a bump in the road. The school administration, however, saw it differently. By second period, Aisha was summoned to Principal Hargrove's office. Hargrove, a weary man in his 50s with thinning grey hair, sat behind his desk, the infamous video playing on his computer. "Aisha, you know we have a zero-tolerance policy for physical altercations," he said, rubbing his temples. Aisha sat across from him, her posture straight, her expression unapologetic. "She grabbed me first, sir. I was defending myself." Hargrove sighed, his eyes flickering to a framed photo of his own daughter, a Lincoln High alum. He knew Courtney's reputation. Her parents were wealthy donors who funded the school's new gym, and their influence hung over every decision. Aisha, on the other hand, was a scholarship student, her family scraping by in a rented apartment on the edge of town. "I understand, Aisha," Hargrove said, his voice softer. "But we have to follow protocol. You'll serve a week of detention. Courtney will receive a warning." Aisha's jaw tightened, but she nodded. The injustice stung, but she'd expected it. Courtney's warning was a slap on the wrist, a reminder of the double standards that permeated Lincoln High. As Aisha left the office, she passed Courtney in the hallway, who flashed a triumphant smirk. "See you around, Aisha," she taunted, her voice laced with venom. Aisha didn't respond, but her mind was racing. She wasn't going to let Courtney win, not this time. Detention was held in a stuffy classroom overseen by Ms. Carter, a no-nonsense English teacher who spent most of the hour grading papers. Aisha took a seat in the back, her notebook open but her mind elsewhere. That's when she noticed Malik, a quiet senior slouched in a corner desk, his hoodie pulled low over his eyes. Malik was an enigma at Lincoln High, known for his coding, skills, and his love of anime. He'd been targeted by Courtney's crew for years. He glanced at Aisha, giving her a nod of respect. "Saw the video," he said, his voice low. "You didn't back down. That's rare around here." Aisha shrugged, but a small smile tugged at her lips. Didn't have much choice. Over the next few days, Aisha and Malik bonded in detention. He shared stories of his own run-ins. With Courtney, how she'd mocked his anime obsession, spread rumors about his family, even gotten her friends to trash his science fair project last year. Aisha opened up about her dreams of becoming a lawyer, her grandmother's stories of the civil rights movement, and the weight of being one of the few black students at Lincoln High. Malik listened, his dark eyes thoughtful. Then, one afternoon, he leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm working on something, an app. It's for kids like us, ones who get pushed around and don't have a voice. You in?" Aisha's curiosity piqued. "What kind of app?" Malik grinned, pulling out his laptop. "It's called Speak Out. Anonymous, secure, and it's going to shake things up." This was the first major twist in Aisha's journey. Speak Out was Malik's brainchild, a platform where students could submit anonymous stories of bullying which his algorithm would verify for patterns before posting publicly. The goal was to expose the toxic culture at Lincoln High without putting anyone at risk. Aisha didn't hesitate. "I'm in," she said, her voice firm. Over the next few weeks, they worked in secret, Aisha writing powerful captions for the app, while Malik coded the back end. They met in the library after hours, their laptops glowing in the dim light, their voices hushed but urgent. Aisha collected stories from other students, quiet kids, nerds, outcasts, who'd been humiliated by Courtney and her crew. There was Jamal, a freshman whose glasses were broken in a prank. Emily, a shy girl whose diary was read aloud in the cafeteria, and Carlos, a soccer player who'd been mocked for his accent. Each story fueled Aisha's resolve, and Speak Out began to take shape. The app launched quietly, but its impact was immediate. By the end of the first week, dozens of stories poured in, each one verified by Malik's algorithm to ensure authenticity. Aisha's captions were raw and powerful, calling out the culture of cruelty without naming names. "This school protects the powerful and silences the rest," one post read. "It's time to speak out." The posts went viral, shared across social media by students, parents, even local news outlets. Whispers of "Speak Out" echoed through Lincoln High, and for the first time, victims of bullying felt seen. Aisha and Malik watched the app's analytics skyrocket, their hearts pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. They'd started something big, bigger than they'd ever imagined. But success came with a cost. Courtney, furious at the app's growing popularity, suspected Aisha's involvement. She and her minions launched a vicious campaign to discredit Aisha, spreading rumors that she was a liar who'd faked the hallway. Incident for attention. They posted doctored screenshots online, claiming Aisha was bullying others. The rumors hit hard, especially when Aisha's younger sister, Nia, came home crying after hearing them at her middle school. Aisha hugged her sister, her resolve hardening. "They're scared, Nia," she said. "Scared people lash out." At home, Aisha's parents were supportive but worried. Her father, a mechanic who worked long hours, urged her to be careful. "You're poking a bear, Aisha," he said, his voice heavy. Her mother, a nurse, added, "Just make sure you're fighting for something worth it." The second twist came unexpectedly. One rainy afternoon, as Aisha left the library, she was approached by Sarah, Courtney's childhood friend, and a reluctant member of her clique. Sarah's blonde hair was damp, her eyes red from crying. "Can we talk?" she whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. They ducked into an empty classroom, where Sarah's words came out in a rush. "I'm done with Courtney. She's not who everyone thinks she is." Sarah revealed a bombshell. Courtney's perfect life was a facade. Her father was facing legal trouble for embezzlement. Her parents were on the brink of divorce, and Courtney's bullying was her way of maintaining control in a world falling apart. "She's mean because she's hurting," Sarah said, her voice breaking, "but that doesn't make it okay." Aisha was stunned. She'd seen Courtney as a one-dimensional villain, but Sarah's revelation painted a more complex picture. It didn't excuse Courtney's actions, but it humanized her. Aisha faced a moral dilemma: use Sarah's information to take Courtney down for good, or protect Sarah's trust and focus on the bigger fight. After a sleepless night, Aisha chose the latter. "You're doing the right thing," she told Sarah. "Help us make this school better." Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes, and joined the Speak Out team. The trio, Aisha, Malik, and Sarah, became an unstoppable force, uncovering a deeper scandal. The school administration had been ignoring bullying complaints to protect the reputations of wealthy students like Courtney. Speak Out's data revealed a pattern of negligence, with dozens of complaints buried or dismissed. The third twist came when Malik hacked into an old school server, ethically questionable but necessary, he argued, and found emails between Hargrove and Courtney's parents. The emails showed they'd pressured him to downplay incidents involving their daughter, even offering donations to smooth things over. Aisha's blood boiled as she read the evidence, but she also felt a pang of sympathy for Hargrove, a man caught between his principles and the politics of power. The team decided to go big. They'd present their findings at the school's annual assembly, a mandatory event attended by students, parents, and local media. It was a risky move, but Aisha was done playing small. The weeks leading up to the assembly were a whirlwind. Aisha, Malik, and Sarah worked around the clock, refining their presentation and gathering more stories. Aisha's grandmother, now frail but fierce, became their biggest cheerleader. "You're fighting for justice, baby," she said, her hands trembling as she squeezed Aisha's. "Don't stop." Aisha drew strength from her grandmother's words, but the pressure was immense. Courtney's campaign against her intensified, with fake social media accounts spreading lies about Aisha's family. One night, Aisha found her locker vandalized with slurs, the paint still wet. She stood there, fists clenched, refusing to cry. Malik found her and helped her clean it up, their silence a bond stronger than words. The day of the assembly arrived, a crisp spring morning that felt heavy with possibility. The auditorium was packed, the air buzzing with anticipation. Courtney sat in the front row, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. Aisha took the stage, her heart pounding but her voice steady. She began with her own story. The hallway incident, the detention, the rumors. Then she shared the stories from Speak Out, each one a dagger to the heart of Lincoln High's complacency. She revealed the administration's negligence, projecting the emails on a screen for all to see. The crowd was silent at first, then erupted in gasps and murmurs. Parents whispered angrily, students shifted uncomfortably, and the local news crew zoomed in on Aisha's face. "This school can be better," she said, her voice ringing out, "but only if we stop protecting the powerful and start listening to the silenced." The applause started slowly, then grew into a roar. Even some of Courtney's minions clapped, their loyalty shaken. Hargrove sat in the back, his face pale, but the biggest twist came after the assembly. As Aisha stepped off the stage, Courtney approached her, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how to stop." Aisha was speechless. She'd expected anger, not vulnerability. She didn't forgive Courtney, not yet, but she saw something in her eyes that hinted at redemption. "Get help," Aisha said softly, "and mean it." The fallout was seismic. Hargrove resigned the following week, citing personal reasons. An investigation into the school's practices led to new anti-bullying policies and mandatory training for staff. Speak Out became a national model, with Aisha and Malik invited to speak at conferences across the country. Sarah found her own voice, breaking free from Courtney's shadow and starting a peer mentorship program. Courtney, to her credit, began therapy, grappling with her own demons. Aisha, now a senior, continued her journey toward becoming a lawyer, her resolve stronger than ever. The hallway incident, once a moment of humiliation, became the spark that ignited a revolution. Aisha's story spread beyond Lincoln High, inspiring students in other schools to speak out. Her grandmother, who lived to see the assembly, passed away that summer, but not before telling Aisha she was proud. "You're my legacy," she said, her voice weak but warm. Aisha carried those words with her, a reminder that courage could change everything.